They killed Nolan Wells on the boat.
They killed Nolan Wells on the boat. That's the claim. Those exact words, said out loud, in a recording that has been circulating for days now, followed by a description of what supposedly happened next. That he was covered with life jackets. That the group was towed part of the way in. That they went back out later with the GPS disconnected and no phones on them so there would be no trace. That the body was dumped. That the boat was washed at 3 in the morning. That is an extraordinary set of statements. And here is the first thing you need to know about it. The person making that claim does not appear to be describing something they saw. Listen to the recording carefully, and there is nothing in it that establishes first-hand knowledge. No account of being present. No explanation of how they'd know about a GPS being disconnected or a boat being washed at 3 in the morning. What it sounds like, and the creator who first surfaced it said the same thing, is somebody repeating a theory assembled from online discussion and presenting it as though it were established. So we have an allegation with no visible foundation. Under normal circumstances, that's where it ends. Except something else happened this month that changes what a claim like that is worth. Because for the first time in this case, there's now a mechanism capable of testing it. This is Case Desk. Because while the internet has been arguing over interpretations, Nolan Wells' estate has been going after the records. On August 20th, 2026, TMZ reported 2 new subpoenas filed on behalf of Nolan's estate. One directed at Ceto Services International. One at Ward Marine Services, which operates as Ceto, Mississippi. And it isn't a general request. The Ceto subpoena seeks everything connected to the July 4th incident within a specific window. 2 in the afternoon to 8 in the evening. Calls, recordings, dispatch records, documents showing who handled the response. It also seeks Ceto's training materials and written procedures for handling reports of boats taking on water and sinking. The Ward Marine subpoena goes further. It seeks all calls tied to the incident, including dispatch calls and communications between the captain, the local crew, and people connected to the boat. It seeks other communications about the incident, and it seeks records showing whether anyone changed or ended Ceto's response. Read that last item again, because it's the one that tells you what the legal team is actually looking for, not just what happened. Whether somebody altered what happened. And there's a second set of filings. In Jackson County Chancery Court, subpoenas targeting Meta, Facebook, and Instagram, along with TikTok, Snap, WhatsApp, and the tracking app Life360, GPS logs, messages, deleted content. According to reporting, the family's legal team is pursuing that material after discrepancies in location tracking and concerns about messages that were wiped or deleted from Nolan's phone. So that's what changed. And here's why it changes the shape of this story. Every argument in this case up to now has been an argument about interpretation. What somebody remembers, what somebody claims, what somebody says they heard in a piece of audio. Those arguments are unwinnable because everyone hears what they expect to hear and nobody can be proven wrong. Records don't work that way. A dispatch log either exists or it doesn't. A server either has an entry at 547 or it doesn't. A response either was altered or it wasn't, and there's a document showing which. Which brings us to the single most contested object in this entire case, the Ceto call. Audio from the emergency calls that day was released by MDMR, and in the background of that audio, there are voices, shouting, phrases people have spent weeks arguing over. One person, Janetta Brantley, produced a transcription of what she said was audible in the background of that recording and presented her credentials for doing that work. That transcription became one of the most disputed items in the entire case. Defense attorneys went on national news and characterized the audio differently, describing it as doctored or as nothing more than the panic of a boat taking on water. And so for weeks now, the conversation has been, I hear this, you hear that. She's qualified. No, she isn't. It's real. It's doctored. Which raises an obvious question that almost nobody has asked. Why is anyone arguing about an interpretation when the original recording exists? Because that's the distinction that matters, and it's the distinction the subpoena is built on. A transcription is not the recording. A version circulating online is not the recording. A compressed file uploaded, downloaded, re-uploaded, and shared across 4 platforms is not the recording. The original is a different object entirely. A marine dispatch operations recording system captures material at a technical quality that a shared clip does not preserve. What survives in an original file, the separation between foreground and background sound, the technical characteristics of the capture, the timestamps attached to it, is precisely what gets destroyed the moment a file starts moving around the internet. So an original file can be examined, not interpreted, examined, by people with the equipment to isolate background audio properly and the standing to say what is and isn't present in it. That's what the estate is asking for, not a better argument, the source material. And here's the part that turns this into something with a clock on it, but let's get there in a moment because you should hear how this landed first.
Hey y'all, hey, I got this video a couple of days ago and I've been kind of like not really interested to see it, but I finally just said, what the heck, let's listen to what he has to say. So let's listen to him.
They killed Nolan Wells on the boat. They covered him up with the life jackets. They all knew he was on the boat. They just laid him on the back of the boat and got towed in part of the way. Then they got their boat running and they got on in. And when they got in, they couldn't figure out where they were going to put him or what they were going to do. So they dropped everybody off. Then they went back out to the island that the GPS doesn't show, but they did because they disconnected it. Okay? And none of them had their phones with them when they went back. So there wasn't any trace of them going back. And they dumped the body. They came back, took the boat out of the water, then went over there at 3 a.m. and washed the boat, thinking washing the boat would get all the DNA and everything off the boat.
Now, after you've listened to it, I'm sure that you got the same thing that I have. I don't think that he's describing what happened or like if he had firsthand knowledge of what happened and things of that nature. I think what he is doing is saying that this is what he heard on one of the panels lives or something of that nature. And he is saying that these content creators, TikTok creators, we are the best investigators out there, and that the police or investigators, or if there are any in this case, should look into the things that we have researched, because he feels that we're spot on. Now, the DA and Warren might have released some stuff on Nolan's birthday, but Miss Christine came back and checkmate on them, because she went and had her attorney subpoena. She subpoenaed Sea Tow Services and Water Marine Services that operates at South Mississippi, because she wants all the data, videos, cameras, anything from the time at 2 to 8 p.m., anything surrounding Nolan being on Horns Island, the protocols, and she also wants the manuals to what if something happens. Like, they want all the shenanigans, all the shebang bang bangs. Y'all gonna stop playing with Miss Christine, because checkmate, check the freaking mate. And I don't care what y'all say about Miss Christine. I don't care what y'all try to paint this narrative about Nolan or how she's like, but she's not playing with y'all. Y'all can go have several seats, and I'm pretty sure that there'll be more subpoenas coming around for y'all, because she's not playing. She's not playing. She's going to get answers. She's going to get some justice for her son. We're going to get answers for her son. Not check. Hey, y'all. Hey. So I know that people are starting to question this image, and I'm glad that they are starting the conversation about the image before me, because when I looked at it, when it originally came out, I zoomed in specifically into this in space, and I was thinking, like, does that look like a bunch of people laying, sunbathing, or anything in that nature? Or is it looking like what is that? So let me show you the picture I'm talking about. Now, you guys always know me. I'm sharing. I'm not alleging. I'm not accusing. I'm just asking questions. So pipe down with all that other conversation. But you tell me what you see, and let's dialogue about that. Because when this image literally first came out, it really took me back. Mind you, the other 3 boats that are there, but specifically zooming in into this location, it was taking me back. So what do you see? Because I'm not going to say anything. What did you see? And let's talk about it.
There is an investigation happening, and the paperwork matters. While you watch me scroll through the Jackson County Chancery Court website, understand what you're looking at. These are real court filings, including updated subpoenas issued today seeking records connected to the CTOW call and towing activity. And that is only part of it. There are multiple filings, requests, and legal steps happening behind the scenes. The fact that the official autopsy has still not been publicly released also tells us this process is not finished. We should not confuse a lack of public information with a lack of activity. So don't lose hope. Don't assume nothing's happening. There's a lot happening. At the time, the public is investigating too. People are going back through interviews, timelines, statements, screenshots, and records, and they are noticing something important. What was said at the beginning does not always match what is being said now. The interviews that were supposed to settle the narrative are creating more questions. We are seeing contradictions between different accounts. We're going to continue breaking those statements down, especially statements made by Warren Hudson against the timeline, the records, and what was previously said. This is why we keep saying, follow the documents, follow the timeline, follow the evidence. We check power, not people. This is the Free Press Action Network, so stay tuned. We have much more coming, and make sure you're following Free Press Action Network across all platforms. Stay tuned.
Now let's separate what's in that, because those clips contain 4 very different kinds of information, and they were coming at you in one stream. Established. The subpoenas exist. They're filed. They're in Jackson County Chancery Court. They're reported by TMZ, and the targets are named CTOW Services International, Ward Marine Services, Meta, TikTok, Snap, WhatsApp, Life 360. That's a matter of record. Reported the specifics of what's being requested, and the reporting that the legal team moved on the digital records because of discrepancies in location tracking and concerns about deleted messages. Alleged everything in that opening recording. The life jackets, the disconnected GPS, the return trip, the 3 a.m. wash. None of it is established by anything, and the person saying it does not appear to have been there. And unknown what any of these records actually contain, which is the entire point of the exercise. I want to be careful about one more thing in those clips, because there's a lot of celebration in them. Checkmate. It's over. Turn yourself in. I understand the feeling, but a subpoena is a request for documents. It is not a finding. It doesn't establish that anyone did anything, and it doesn't guarantee that what comes back will support any particular theory. It's entirely possible that the original recording, examined properly, contains nothing beyond what the defense has described. That outcome would also be an answer, and it would also be worth having. Now, the clock. The reporting indicates the estate's subpoena carries a 21-day period for the original CTOW call to be produced. 21 days. That's the thing to actually watch. Not another creator's interpretation, not another viral upload. A deadline, attached to a specific piece of material, with a legal obligation behind it. And the reason the estate can do this at all is worth understanding, because a lot of people misread it when it happened. When Nolan's parents opened an estate, the public read it as a lawsuit, as being about money. An estate is a legal entity. It has standing. It can issue subpoenas. It can compel production from third parties that have no obligation to answer a single question from a member of the public, or from a family, or from a content creator. That's the shift. The family stopped asking and started requiring. And it matters that these particular targets are third parties. CTOW International is a private maritime towing corporation. Meta is a technology company. Life 360 is an app. None of them are part of Jackson County. None of them have a stake in how this case resolves. They have compliance obligations and document retention policies, and when a court-issued subpoena arrives, what they produce is what their systems recorded, not what anybody would prefer their systems had recorded. Which brings us to the digital side, and the question underneath all of it. Human accounts conflict. That's not an accusation. It's just true of every case with multiple people in it. Memory is unreliable about time. People compress hours. People misremember sequence. And separately from that, accounts sometimes change. Server records don't have that problem. A location ping is a location ping. A message timestamp is a timestamp. A deleted message often still exists on a company's servers even after it disappears from a phone. So the question the digital subpoenas pose is simple and testable. Does the timeline people have described match the timeline the devices recorded? If it does, that's meaningful. It would corroborate the accounts that have been given, and it would quiet a great deal of speculation. If it doesn't, if a location record places someone somewhere their account doesn't, then that's a discrepancy that has to be explained, and it becomes very difficult to explain it away. There's one more thing worth putting on the table, though I want to be careful with how much weight I put on it. People magazine reported, citing Jackson County coroner records, that there has not been a drowning death at Horn Island in roughly 6 years, and that going back further the number is a small handful. That is not proof of anything. Rare events happen. A statistic about 6 years does not establish what happened to one person on one afternoon. But it does sit against something, because early on, publicly, the framing that circulated was that people die out there all the time, and it stuck. It shaped how the public understood this before anyone had examined a single record. So the coroner data doesn't prove a case. What it does is remove a premise, and a narrative that was accepted quickly, without documentation, deserves the same scrutiny as any other claim. And still, with all of this filed and all of this pending, the official autopsy has not been publicly released. I want to stop for a moment, because this has become a story about documents, and it started as something else. Nolan was somebody's son. Before he was a case, before his name became a hashtag, before strangers were arguing about audio files and boat logs and coroner statistics, he was 18, and he had a future his family expected to watch happen. His mother is now the person filing subpoenas. Think about what that means. She is not grieving in private. She is learning the mechanics of Chancery Court, because that turned out to be the only way anyone would give her an answer about her own child. So let's come back to where we started. They killed Nolan Wells on the boat. Is that proven? No. Nothing in that recording establishes it, and the person who said it does not appear to have been in a position to know. Should it be ignored? That's a different question. Leads get evaluated against evidence. If there's material supporting it, that material should be found. If there's material disproving it, that should be found too, and it should be said out loud. And that's what actually changed this month. The most important development in this case is not another theory, another creator, another interpretation of the same 7 seconds of audio. It's that within 21 days, an original file is supposed to be handed over. And after that, dispatch logs, location records, message data, documents showing who handled the response, and whether anyone changed it. The strongest evidence here probably won't come from whoever has the most followers or the most dramatic upload. It'll come from something boring, a timestamp, a GPS log, a line in a dispatch record that nobody can explain away. So in the comments, don't tell me who you think did it. Tell me this instead. What is the one record you think could answer the biggest unanswered question in this case? The original CETO audio, the Life 360 data, the messages, the dispatch logs, something else entirely? Subscribe to Case Desk and turn on notifications, because in 21 days, something either gets produced or it doesn't. Both of those are news, and we'll cover whichever one it is the same way. Confirmed is confirmed, alleged is alleged, unverified is unverified, and when we don't know, we say we don't know. 21 days.